Hello and welcome to the Menopause Unplugged podcast with me, your host, Nikki Oliveira. Today in the studio we have Deborah from Flourish with Deborah. How are you, Deborah? Okay?
I am great, Nikki. Thank you so much. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well, thank you. It's getting closer and closer to Christmas, Deborah, but I don't know about you, but I'm starting to freak out.
I'm okay. I'm kind of organised, so yeah, I'm a lot better this year, I think. So I'm okay.
Good. Oh, I wish that was me. But for anyone who doesn't know you, Deborah, how would you explain or describe what it is that you do and the mission behind sort of Flourish with Deborah?
So I am a menopause coach. That is what I do. That is my full-time job. But I think we'll probably go into a bit more about the mission behind Flourish with Deborah and how it came about. But really, I support women in midlife, and it's really from a kind of holistic point of view in terms of there's lots of things that we can be doing, whether you choose to take HRT or not. There's lots of other things that we can be doing as women to look after ourselves. And I'm very much in that realm of, you know, things that women can be doing to help themselves holistically. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've shared openly, Deborah, that you had a hysterectomy at 36. So, can you take us back to that moment and tell us what life was like before and then also after sort of menopause hit?
Yeah. So I think before it, I had my two kids at 30 and 31. So I'd always struggled with my menstrual cycle. It was, it was really, it always affected me. Quite extreme mood and quite a heavy bleed, and it was as I got older, and then up until I had kids, it had always caused me problems.
Mm-hmm.
But it ran in my family, so it was just like that's the way it was, to be honest. And then I had my kids very close together. So I had my first one at 30, my second one at 31. So there's 13 months between them.
Wow.
Very, very close together. Yeah. So after that, I would say things changed. I would say my menstrual cycle settled a little for a few years. And
Mm-hmm.
then round about kind of end of 34, being 34, and definitely while I was 35, it went back to what it had always been, quite difficult, but a lot worse.
Right.
Um, yeah, so, but 8 years ago, perimenopause wasn't a word,
No?
so it just wasn't a thing. So it was never discussed. And when I'd finally had enough, obviously now looking back, I probably had PMDD. I just didn't know. And like I say, when everybody else in your family's suffering the same, that's you just know what you know, and that's it. So yeah,
100%. It just gets normalised, doesn't it?
yep, definitely, definitely. So round about 35, I was really, really struggling, and I was referred to gynecology. When I first went to see gynecology, it was a male doctor that went to see, and he basically said, it's all in your head. This isn't actually, it can't be that bad. You've had kids, you had two kids without much pain relief. Like, how can this be, an issue for you? He actually wanted to refer me to psychology. Yeah,
Oh my.
thankfully my mum was at the appointment with me, and she was just like, we want a second opinion. This is not okay. And again, like in the room with a gynecologist, you're sitting there thinking, this is the person that knows everything. So
Mm-hmm.
what do I know? But what I do know is what's happening in my body. And I know that it's, start speaking to other people, and I know it's not normal.
Yeah.
So, and we got a second opinion, and the woman, it was a woman the second time, she was very much like, fine, I'll give you a hysterectomy, but I don't do keyhole and I'm not putting you back on the list. So it's this or nothing. Again, perimenopause, menopause wasn't mentioned.
Hmm.
Um, PMDD wasn't mentioned. And it was there wasn't a huge discussion about it, but she just said, this will sort it. So this is what you have to do. Are you going to have any more kids? I was like, no. And
Yeah.
I remember she actually said to me, what if your husband and your kids die in a car accident? I was like, oh, what? And she was just like, are you sure? I was like, I'll definitely not be having any more kids. And then that was it. I just get put on
Right.
a list, taken in for a complete hysterectomy. Um, Woke up from a pretty traumatic operation. I was bruised from just under my chest, kind of bottom of my rib cage, right down to the kind of tops of my thighs. Um, and in her words, she gave me a good cleaning out. I was just like, my God.
Right.
Uh-huh.
That sounds
Yep.
brutal.
Uh-huh. It was brutal. It was brutal. And I was left after the hysterectomy. I was given HRT, which turned out to be the wrong HRT, and I was just basically sent away. I never ever called back for any kind of follow up, any discussion, nothing.
Wow. Is is that you didn't call back, or did they not set
They
any of
didn't,
like they
no
didn't?
follow up. I don't even think I was given a leaflet, you know? I don't even
Wow.
think I was given a leaflet. There was nothing.
Hmm.
Um, that was it. That was it. I've actually never saw gynecology again. That was 8 years ago. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was it.
My goodness. I mean, that all sounds very hard. But what was the hardest part about suddenly being in menopause? Without any support.
Um, the whole all of it was really hard. There was no discussion about actually the word menopause was never mentioned to me.
Yeah.
So when I woke up from my operation, I was given tablets to take and I was like, what's this? And they were like, HRT, you have to take that. And I was like, all right, okay. And then they were like, because that's you now. Like, and I was like, all right, okay. And I just remember feeling like it's going to be okay because all of these horrible symptoms and everything that had been happening to me was all going to be better and I'd be
Yeah.
okay. And instead, it was 10 times worse. And they say now I know that a medical menopause is extremely harsh on your body.
Mm.
Um, and it's at 36. No one my age was talking about it. And then my mum didn't speak about it. She was like, oh, I went through that in my 50s and it was fine. Um, and it's so funny now because my mum's now on HRT that she went on recently, and like she was just suffering all these symptoms, and she just thought, well, that's what you have to put up with.
Right.
And it was just crazy to me. It's crazy now to me when I think back. But the worst symptom for me was mentally. I wasn't well. I wasn't healthy in my mind and my thoughts. I knew I wasn't depressed, but I was, I'd have thoughts in the car of just driving into a wall because I was just
Mm.
like, how can I feel like this?
Yeah.
I've went through all this. I've went and got this hysterectomy. I thought this was going to be the answer. And instead, I'm just left without, I remember when we spoke about the hysterectomy, I remember thinking, will I still feel like a woman without, you know,
Yeah.
it, and when I woke up, I remember thinking, okay, thank God I still feel like a woman, which sounds crazy, but that had been my biggest concern at the
Yeah.
time, and I don't know why. It just was a thing in my mind, like, you know, I suppose it's quite old fashioned, but that feeling of being here to reproduce, to, you know, and not being able to do that anymore. And I
Yeah.
guess I think women do feel that as they progress in their perimenopause, and that whole stage is for that reason. It's like, I like to see it as like a season in your life that's preparing you for you the part that you're not going to be doing anymore. And
Yeah.
I guess that was just so abrupt for me. I kind of felt redundant as a woman is
Yeah.
probably the best way. I am so sorry.
It's okay.
Hold on 1 second. I have a puppy and he is a nightmare. I am so sorry. Hold on one.
That's okay.
So sorry. I'm so glad you're recording this.
Don't worry. Listen, this is all part of just everyday life, so don't worry about it.
Yes. So yeah, I guess I felt redundant as a woman, which I like to think of myself as a wee bit of a feminist, to be honest. So it's probably quite funny that I felt like that, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't explain it any better. That's just how it felt, and my mental health was in the gutter after that. It just, you know, I was completely, the best way to describe it is just like I felt like I was blowing up my life. I was just quite careless in my behaviour and the things I would say to people. I just didn't care. Um, and it wasn't, and it was always very harsh to everyone. Um, and by nature, I'm not that kind of person. It's just that I just didn't care. I didn't care. I didn't care a lot about myself, so it was really
Yeah.
difficult for me then to care enough about anyone else, to be honest. And my mental health was just so poor. It was just
Mhm.
so awful.
Oh my goodness, Deborah. So, I mean, you went through so much, like during that period. Like, so at what point did you think, you know what, I just need to turn this whole experience into something like positive and help others?
So that came a lot later. I think, like I say, I was really struggling with my mental health, and it was 8 years ago I went through my hysterectomy. But for two full years after it, I just wasn't. I was existing. I wasn't living.
Yeah.
And it's quite funny because, you know, I never, like, I was good to my children and I looked after my children, but I don't, when I look at, we shared some videos, my husband and I, and of them at that age when I just went through it. And I remember watching the videos and feeling so disconnected to that period. And it, you know, and my husband was the one that held it all together. Um, and he really invested in the kids. And, you know, I was just going through the motions and
Yeah.
everything in my life. You know, everyone was, you know, tucked up in bed and looked after, and, you know, but I just wasn't fully present. Um, and that is probably my biggest regret in my life, and it probably always will be.
Yeah.
I I'm so obsessed with the nervous system. It's, you know, so my nervous system was just in the gutter. My gut
Yeah.
health was awful. I just had awful stomach problems. Um, and I started to get extreme allergies. And, you know, I just went through 2 years of just existing in life, just making do, just getting by. And I started to go and see a couple of people, therapists, and some people trying different things, you know, try to speak to people, trying to just seek help. But, you know, if I went to the GP, it was like, oh, you're depressed, you just need antidepressants. But I knew I wasn't depressed. It was so strange.
Yeah.
Um, I knew deep down it wasn't depression. I've got depression in my family, and I know what it looks like. Um, and it just didn't feel like that. But it also just didn't feel like anything, you know. It was so hard to describe. Obviously, unbeknownst to me, during all of this time, my HRT was the wrong one, and I think I was getting given HRT that were meant to be on if you still had your ovaries, and I didn't have my ovaries,
Yeah.
so it was just by chance that I kind of discovered that a couple of years in. And again, I still hadn't done any of my training, but in a very kind of flippant remark as I was walking out of a session with like yet another person that I'd gone to see to, you know, try and seek some help and some answers, she said to me to try cold water therapy. Um, and at that point, I was just like, I'll try anything. I just don't want to feel like this.
Yeah.
And I remember my friend took me and we went in the car, we went to Prestwick Beach,
Hmm.
sat for a wee bit chatting, and we went in the water. I just remember how cold it was and just sitting in the water. And then I realised like 5 minutes had gone past, and for the first time in years, I wasn't worrying or stressing or thinking about what was happening to my body. I was in the present moment,
Oh, wow.
and I
Mhm.
don't think I'd ever been in the present moment, probably in my entire life, if I'm honest. You know,
Wow.
and that's like crazy. That's like at 38, 39 years of age. I don't think I just stopped and was there in it. Um, and then, I mean, I've got like childhood trauma, I've got lots of different things that have happened. So I guess all of that was bubbling to the surface, and I just didn't realise. And I'm well aware my case is quite extreme. So, but yeah, so it was just a kind of pivotal moment for me in my life. Um,
Absolutely.
I didn't know it at the time. I just knew that that was the first time I had some kind of relief, and I just kept going back. I just
Hmm.
kept going back. So then in 2023, I did a cold water dip every single day for 10 minutes.
Amazing.
So, just every day for the full year. It started off that I was going to dip every day for January. And then I think the 1st of February, I'd already gone to a dip that had been pre-arranged. And then I thought, okay, I'll maybe do February as well. And so it never started out, I'm going to dip every day. It just got to about March, and I was like, right, okay, I'm going to kind of, and I was like saying to people, I'm going to do 3 months. But in my head at that point, I knew I was going to try and do the year.
Oh,
And
wow.
by the time I got to the end of March, all these symptoms that I'd been having in my menopause had either completely lessened or had gone, disappeared. And I was like, oh, there's something in this. By that point, I'd started training, um, but it was mostly just for myself. So I was never, I was never with the view of helping other people. Although I think it was 2021, I'd started a cold water therapy group, and it was female only, and it was based at a lock in Whitelock, and we've been running now since then. I think it was 2021 I started it. What are we on now? No,
But
must have been 2020. Yeah. So I think I started the page then, started the group then, and it was literally just for myself to find other women to go dipping with. Um, and that was kind of how it came about. There was loads of groups at that point, but none of them were female only. And I was just really keen to have a kind of female only environment.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, just for that support. And the way it worked out, it was older women, and it was really good for me because I finally had this group of women that I could speak to that were my peers in terms of where I was at in my menopause,
Yeah.
and learning just from them talking about different things, and us all learning that, that there was this collective group of women all over Scotland that are in their 50s usually. But obviously I'm younger because I went into my menopause younger, but
Yeah.
we're all getting into cold water everywhere, and we just kept going back because of how it made us feel. So yeah, that's kind of where it all started for me and why it started. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, so
I mean,
sorry.
sorry, go on.
Oh, you go.
I was going to say, so like, so you must have seen then a gap in sort of menopause support, like doing the leading the group that you were doing with the cold water dipping. Was that then what made you want to kind of step in and sort of act as that, sort of key person to provide support for women in menopause?
I think it was loads of things like that definitely um, inspired me, but the menopause support came later. Um, it was more like we'd started, I'm really good at organising things and I actually love doing it. So um, we'd started going in like trips and we'd go away for the day and we'd go dipping here, there and everywhere, and we'd started going around Scotland, and I was always the person that kind of took that on and organised it for everyone, and we started doing like weekend retreats away, and at that point I was making cakes, working really long hours, and not getting much for it for what I was putting in. If I started looking at an hourly wage, and I was just like, this isn't what I want to do. Um, and funnily enough, the oddest thing happened. So I'd done my menopause training, but it was more for me.
Mhm.
And I went to a psychic, and I was in a group of like 12 of us, and she said to me, you're going to be in the menopause field. And I said to her, no. And there was another woman there, and I was like, no, that's not me, that's her. And she was like, no, it's you. That's what you're going to be doing. It was the strangest thing. So I
Wow.
don't know if it was that, I know, amazing. I don't know if it was that seed that kind of made me go, it was between that and then just having conversations with the women that I was, supporting without realising I was supporting them, and doing like my coaching and just doing all these different courses. And really it was, someone just said to me, another friend of mine said to me, do what you love. This is it. You're going into the second half of your life, Debs. Do what you love.
Yeah.
And I loved the cold water. I loved breath work. I loved learning about menopause. I love helping women. So it came from all of those things, and they were all working. They weren't just helping me, I was helping people around me. Like I
Yeah.
said about my mum, started helping my mum. The change in her was just so incredible. And she was like, such a shame that I'm your daughter, because people will just think I'm saying it because I'm your daughter, but
Yeah.
lots of people could see it in her as well, and they were just saying to her, "What is it you're doing?" And she's like, "It's actually my daughter that's helping me." I fell in love with meditation, um, and it started when I then started healing my nervous system, just coming out of that fight or flight that I'd realised I'd lived in all my life. Um, that just made about like it just changed everything. And then 3 years ago I stopped drinking alcohol, which again changed everything for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a combination of all of these things that had kind of gone wrong that took
Yeah,
me to a place that just felt so right.
absolutely.
Sorry.
Oh,
Yeah.
bless you.
Nice.
So when you combine like all the therapies that you offer, so like sound energy healing, the sort of mindset support,
Mhm.
and body focused therapies, how how do these all of these blend together in your approach?
Well, I think the nervous system is where they all start and end. Um, that and your gut health. For me, those are the two key ingredients. And in your life, if your nervous system is calm, if your nervous system is just in that parasympathetic, beautiful, you can handle anything,
Yeah,
you make good decisions, nothing's really done on impulse. Um, and I had learned that I was quite an impulsive person. I didn't really think I'd take, and it's good to, I love that about myself that I'm not frightened to take steps forward and make changes and that's all great, but without having that calm decision making behind it, it can be a bit reckless.
yeah,
And I feel like once I calmed my nervous system, I was able to make good choices in my life. And I see that with everyone that I meet, everyone that I speak to who's struggling with their menopause, their nervous system shocked, they're stressed, they're
yeah,
living life just on the grind, they're not happy. And I don't mean that as in they are happy, but they could be happier. They're seeking something more. And the thing that they're seeking's inside, and they just don't realise it. And the thing
hmm,
that seeking's a calm nervous system. Um, when you're younger and people ask you what it is you want to do, and you're like, I want to be rich, I want to be famous, or I want to, more so now, the young people, that's
yeah,
what they would say, and I want to achieve this, I want to travel the world, I just want peace. Peace for me comes as a calm nervous system.
yeah,
And that is the one thing that no matter what you've got, no matter how much money you have or don't have, if you have peace and a calm nervous system, your health's going to be good.
yeah,
Your, yeah, and I know you know this, Nikki, because you're the same. So, yeah, definitely. For me, it's just the nervous system is so incredible. It's so incredible.
absolutely. Like it just improves every area of your life, like you're saying, doesn't it, tenfold?
Yeah, yeah,
So
definitely.
talking about things that calm our nervous system, so like sound therapy, for instance, like sound healing. How would you explain what it does for the body and the mind during menopause?
So, obviously, during menopause, when our hormones have changed and they're fluctuating, certainly through perimenopause, um, you know, everyone will say your hormones drop, but they don't, they fluctuate, especially your estrogen level. It fluctuates before it drops, and your progesterone level drops quite a lot quicker. And for me, when I explain it to someone, I'm talking about if your estrogen levels going up and down and your progesterone levels started to drop, it's more about that gap between the two
Yeah,
and the change between them. So you can have a small raise in your estrogen level and a small gap drop in your progesterone, but actually that doubles to what the change is in your body. And I know that personally, but women that I come into contact with, that I work with, um, they'll talk about where their nervous system is, or they'll maybe not know that's what it is, but when they start talking about how stressed they are and what's going on in their life, all of that has that impact and those hormone changes.
Yeah.
And a lot of it can just be where your tolerance levels not great, you're not getting great sleep. And we all know, like, no one does well without good sleep.
No.
But it's on top of that, it's just like I think those changes make you go, okay, I need to deal with it. It kind of all comes to a head, doesn't it? So when you look at something like sound therapy and your nervous system is so all over the place, whether it be that you've got other traumas or whether it is just in relation to your actual menopause or your perimenopause that you're going through, and like I say, that change in your hormone level and everything, it can have such a big impact, and more people can be sensitive to that.
Yeah.
So your nervous system starts to, panic because things are changing in your body and you don't really know why. And especially in perimenopause, you can go through years of not understanding because it's just drip, drip changes, drip, drip changes. And then all of a sudden you wake up and go, who am I? Why am I behaving like this? Why am I raging? What's happening?
Yeah.
So it's can be such a small, steady um change, but actually, if you look at it from 3 years previous, it can be such a huge change. So
Yeah.
the the thing that I love so much about sound healing is it literally calms your nervous system. So when I play the sound bowls, that sound and vibration is traveling through the floor. If I'm in a studio or if I'm doing one of my floating sound baths, it's even quicker. It's literally vibrating through your body. Now,
Mm.
when our bodies vibrate, and it's the exact same, if you put your hand here and you begin to hum, it
Yeah.
signals to your amygdala that you are calm and that you're safe, and it will switch off any fight or flight in your nervous system. So it's the exact same. The sound healing is actually doing that for you. It's doing that
Mm.
slight vibration in your body that is
Mm-hmm.
signaling in your brain that you're safe and calm and everything is okay, and it's calming your nervous system. So when I do my classes, I actually teach the women how to hum because I love for them to be able to go away and have access to that. This is
Yeah.
why when people listen to music, music is makes people feel good, but there's actually a reason for that. It's
Yeah.
because it's signaling to your brain that you're calm and that you're safe. And for some people, that will be a really heavy beat, or to some people, that'll be some kind of classical, but there'll be a beat or a rhythm that speaks
Yeah.
to you and your body that calms your nervous system. When you're playing the sound bowls, those hertz are hitting all of those levels. So it doesn't matter who you are, it's aligning your chakras, but it's also switching off your nervous system or switching on your parasympathetic system and
Yeah.
calming you down. And that is just so powerful to be able to give that to people, that
Oh.
calm nervous system, even if it's just for your class and they're going back out the door and they've got so much going on, and or they're unwell or they're caring for people, but in that space of time and for a little time after it, they are going to feel a lot calmer,
Yeah.
and it's just not going to feel as heavy on their shoulders.
Absolutely. It's so fascinating, Deborah, and it's exactly what women need more of, right?
Yeah, yeah. Self-care, self-love. It's, you know, putting yourself first, in the best possible way.
Yeah.
I think it's where we should be more selfish.
100%. I mean, let's talk a little bit more about cold water therapy, right? So we all know it's becoming more popular, but it still feels intimidating to many women. So, what benefits have you personally experienced, and what do your clients report?
So, like for me, I was in that really hellish place mentally.
Hmm.
I think it was so powerful for me. Um, when you're mentally not in a great place, your thoughts are usually quite, you know, quite fast. It's difficult to focus. You can become very fixated. Um, so being able to put yourself, actually switch your full flight or how I explain it to everyone is when you go into cold water, you actually could die. You stay in there too long, you could die. So when you go into cold water, your body will begin to almost panic, but there's the science behind it's amazing. So what actually happens is when we're just going about our normal days, I mean, our heart's pumping, our blood round about our body and our oxygen and everything, when
Yeah.
we go into cold water, our body actually completely changes how it actually feeds all of that oxygen and blood around our body. So what it does is it goes, your amygdala goes, oh, hold on a minute, if I say what is going on here, this is freezing cold. Usually there's a few Effie words in there, like it's really, really cold, and you're sitting in and see for if you tried cold water therapy.
I've actually got a ice
Tub.
bath outside.
Yeah. Amazing. So when you first go into that, every single fibre in your being is telling you to run out of there
Yeah.
because it's cold. And see, when you first start, it doesn't, people think that people that do it all the time don't feel the cold, but that's not what happens. You feel the cold, but your body remembers how good it is for you, so you continue to do it. But when you go in there, your everything in your body, in your head is screaming, get back out. And if you were to stay in there far too long, you would get hypothermia and die. So it is
Yeah.
a life or death situation. So your body will do what it would have done billions of years ago when we were like cavemen and
Yeah.
that whole saber-toothed tiger, and that proper fight or flight instinct will
Mm.
kick in. And
Right.
then what happens is your heart begins to beat completely different, and it will circulate the warmer blood, and it's still circulating your oxygen round, but it will focus in circulating the warmer blood and the fresher oxygen round all of your vital organs, and it will also send it up to your brain. Now, then what
Oh,
happens is, so it's amazing because your heart chambers, the way it pumps, is totally changed, and it will begin to circulate the colder blood that is flowing through your body and starting to chill down. It will circulate that through your limbs, and that's why your hands and your feet and your arms and your legs will actually get a lot colder than your trunk. So it will continue to circulate them separately,
right.
and then for the time that you're in the water. When you come out of the water, and then your body goes, all right, okay, after a few minutes, 5 minutes, it starts to go 10 minutes, oh, okay, we're not going to die here of hypothermia, there's no real threat. Then it
Yeah.
switches off your fight or flight completely. Now, most of us have been walking about with our fight or flight kind of half on because we're
Yeah.
constantly stressed, our nervous system's constantly going, and it's all these small things that we're getting stressed about that don't mean life or death, but we treat them like they are,
Yes.
and our body won't know the difference between them. So
Hmm.
when we come out, that fight or flight is completely switched off, and our amygdala goes, right, okay, we're safe. And that's where that feeling of like, getting dried, and you start to feel good. But then what happens is your body temperature will drop. That's when the cold blood and the warmer blood in your body begins to mix again. So your heart will go back to pumping the way it used to, the way it always has, and that warm and cold blood will begin to mix, and your body temperature will drop slightly. And that's when you can start to get quite shaky and quite cold. Now that is amazing. Your body just does that. It does that to keep you safe, to keep you alive. And then it realizes that that threat is not there anymore, and it switches it all off. And that's when you can get really tired, really hungry. Like people have, I've mentioned quite a lot of people will go for a nap, especially when it's been really cold. But that's just because your body has went, right, okay, that was a real worry there. That adrenaline was really pumping, but now
Yeah.
it's fine. So when you're in the place that I was in, where mentally it was really, really in a poor place, or if you're really struggling with your symptoms and you're not getting a lot of sleep, that's such a powerful tool to have at your disposal, to actually be able to say, okay, this is a massive thing that could kill you if you stayed in there. And that's how you switch your nervous system back off again, by coming out of that and saying, right, okay, I'm okay. Now, on top of all of that, that's so good for your menopause symptoms, because A, it'll help you sleep a bit better at night. B, it's switching off that nervous system that's been flashing, that fight or flight that's been going on in your head for, possibly years through your perimenopause.
Yeah,
Um, Also actually does is it retrains your body to help your internal thermostat. So it also will help your body understand when you're too hot or you're too cold, which then helps with any hot or cold flashes that you would have been having. So
yeah,
it's so powerful for all of those things. And like I said to you, I dipped for a year every day. When I got to about 3 months, 4 months in to that, I stopped getting any hot or cold flushes at all. They just
yeah.
completely went, which was amazing, because that was something that I'd really suffered with. And in fact, they've never come back in during the night at all. So that
Amazing.
kind of 3 a.m. breeze, I've never had that back now. And I just think that's absolutely amazing.
Absolutely. What a game changer.
Yeah,
Like, how
definitely.
long were you like, or are you still dipping every day? How
I
many
don't
minutes?
dip every day. I dipped every day in 2023, and then I gave myself a break. I broke it because I just thought I'm now, it's too much pressure to do it. But in saying that, I do have cold. So I've got a shower that runs off the main, and
Yeah.
like you put it on and then you leave it for ages before you went in. Now I'll go in, I'll, get myself wet, and I don't mind it so much. I quite like that little shock to the system. And then I
Hmm.
do try to dip like 3 or 4 times a week, because
Excellent.
it's just so good for me. I just love it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Um, so you talked a lot about like meditate. You like to meditate and stuff. So do you have a favourite ritual or grounding practice that you would encourage every woman to try? I know you mentioned the humming, but is there anything else?
So I do have a couple of rituals that I like to do. At the full moon, I love to kind of ground myself. So Um, I usually put on a full moon cold water dip and kind of tie the two in together. But I do like
Oh
to
no.
get my shoes off and get my feet planted in the ground, in the grass, especially during a full moon. I try and do that once a month.
Hmm.
I just feel really connected to the moon. I'm kind of a wee bit obsessed with it. I used to always think, God, that makes me a bit woo-woo, but actually there's so much science behind the connection between humans and the moon, that um, it's crazy to me now that I didn't realise that. So I don't think it's woo-woo anymore, but I'm sure lots of people probably think it is. But yeah, so getting my shoes off and getting grounded, I just love. And ritual, what that's like a ritual for me every month, definitely.
Yeah, I've done that myself a few times. I
Yeah.
quite like that one. Do you
Uh-huh.
instantly feel better after doing it? You definitely do.
Definitely. Definitely. Getting your shoes off, getting your feet in the ground. I just feel connected, and I love being outside now. I was never someone to walk anywhere or, really get outside unless I kind of had to,
Yeah,
and now I'm just like, I just love being outside. Even in all this horrible rain we've had, I don't care. I'm
yeah,
like, you're just a jacket away from, being able to be outside. It is so
to,
good for you to get that fresh air.
mm,
Um, and it gives you so much mental clarity, I think.
I think so too. Yeah, even just a wee 10 minutes. Like it
Yeah,
doesn't have to be long, doesn't it?
yeah, definitely. obviously you heard my puppy earlier, so
Yes.
he's been amazing for me as well, just getting me outside, getting me walking, and really appreciating being out in the fresh air. Um, and also, I don't know, it's kind of weird for me, but I feel as if when I'm outside, that's why I love dipping outside rather than in the garden. I will do it if I need to, but actually going somewhere, like say you go to Loch Lomond, or Glencoe's my favourite place in the world, and I
Yeah.
have been to lots of different places, but there's something about going up there, going up the mountain, or going up towards and feeling completely insignificant in terms of just the size of you, then the size of any of your problems that you have. That just all kind of falls away for me because it's like this is vast and humongous and it's untouched. I don't know, but yeah, that all makes me feel lighter.
Do you know, it's funny you say that, Deborah. I feel that. I feel like a sense of that when I'm flying. See, when you're taking off and everything, all the houses, all the buildings get smaller and smaller and smaller the higher that you get. And you think, wow, like this life, there's such a big world out there. And me and my issues and my problems or whatever's in my head, it's just a tiny fragment of what's
Uh-huh.
going on.
Yeah, and it's such a good way to recalibrate yourself, I think, and just say, actually, this is not all encompassing. And I always find when I'm like that, the mental clarity it gives me, I can usually find a solution for something that's going on.
Yeah,
I think when you're so caught up in it, and it's like the biggest thing in the world to you, and it's the only thing that's going on, the only thing that matters in your head, actually just being able to take that step back and go, in the grand scheme of things, this is not as big as everything else that's going on in the world or everything else that's happening in someone else's world. So I just feel as if that allows all of the BS really to fall away and you're just
yeah,
left with what the actual problem is. And it
yes.
usually gets you to the solution, I think.
Oh, love that. Absolutely love that, Deborah. What a great takeaway. So, I mean, what does working with you with Flourish with Deborah look like? Like, what kind of things do you offer? Is there any sort of programs apart from obviously the group?
Yeah, so I've obviously got my free cold water group, which is open to any females. Um, I do lots of different sound healing classes, lots of group classes. I do lots of like away days. We're going to Glencoe in January. I just cannot wait like that. I do retreats. I would go away for the weekend. I just love all that kind of thing.
Mhm.
I have a 6 week menopause workshop, and I have been doing them in person previously, but for January I've taken that online just to allow other access to other people. So yeah, but I don't do any one-to-one work. That's very intentional from
Yeah,
me. People have access to me all the time, which is fine, but I don't do specific one-to-one work. It's just a choice that I made when I was creating my vision board for what, my ideal job, doing what I
yeah,
love, helping as many people as I can. That's how it came about. And I just love that because as women, there's so much we can learn from each other. And I'm not the only person that has all of the wisdom. We all have it.
yeah,
So I can be a facilitator and a guide, and I can have some of the science, and I can say, right, okay, we can read this report here, or actually, you know, like there's lots of things out there like cold water therapy. Women should have it between this temperature and that temperature. And I'll say to my women, we've been doing this now for 5 years. Like,
yeah,
what are we getting from it? Let's just stick with that. So,
yeah.
I love being a facilitator of that. That is just, that's not work for me.
Absolutely. Yeah, sounds fun. Um,
Fun is the key word, Nikki. We don't,
yes,
grown-ups, we just don't have fun
we
anymore.
don't.
We don't, well, I'm saying we don't, I do. I love fun. Fun is like part of who I am, if you're writing out your values or who you are as a person and what's really important to you, fun's actually really high up there in my list.
Ah,
Um, and I definitely think that's something I bring to every every event that I do, every, retreat that I do, every course that I run, all of it, a lot of it is centered on fun because as
mm.
adults, we do not have a lot of fun. We don't, and it's not right.
No, it's true. Like we just burden ourselves with responsibility and just getting through the day. Like I feel like for me, the most amount of fun I have is when I'm with my 2 and 4 year olds, because they're living in the present and everything that they do is all about having fun. So I kind of become childlike and having fun with them, which is,
That's
why am I
amazing.
not making time for that myself,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of us could relate to that.
hmm And I think that is great because your kids are young. See, as they get older and fun changes for them, I think like um it, you can tell your kids to do something till they're blue in the face, but they'll be a long time growing up. I love to show them that they can still have fun as an adult because, life will come at you thick and fast as you get older and responsibilities and all of that. And that's all great, but the world's really good at showing you that. Let's remember that life, we only get one shot at it. Why can we not smile and laugh a bit more while we're doing it? Why not?
100%. Is there anything, before we wrap up, Deborah, is there any advice or a message you would like to give to the women listening who feel lost, maybe in their menopause just now, who, just need to hear a wee something? What would you say?
Well, I would say trust your gut because I think if you're feeling lost, then there's something more there. Um, so anyone who's feeling lost in their menopause, then don't dampen that. Like lean into it. Try
Hmm.
and find things that make you feel more at home because that's where you'll have a calm nervous system. That's where you'll be the healthiest in your mind and your body. And that feeling of being lost is not something that you should shy away from and run from.
Yeah,
Actually lean into it with all of the energy that you can because it's going to bring up something for you that's going to be amazing. It's going to bring up things that you're missing in your life. It's going to bring up connection that you're missing in your life to yourself and to other people. And
yeah,
try your hardest to get round about other women that are going through what you're going through. You don't have
yeah.
to spend money. You have to get connection. That's
Mhm.
what's really, really, really important. We're missing connection, we miss community. In the
Yeah,
world that we live in, people don't live in communities anymore. They live in houses and they'll sometimes go, oh, I'll have to wave at her, my neighbour, because I see her or whatever, because we're just so caught up, we're heads down, getting on with what we're doing. And we need connection. Women thrive on connection and understanding and that support. And I go for that. If you're feeling lost, lean into it. What's it telling you?
yeah.
Instead of trying to run from that feeling, because you'll never get away from it. You'll never be able to run fast enough. It's
No,
always going to be there. So stop running from it. Sit and face it. What is it telling you? Tune into your body. Meditate. And if you're feeling too anxious, which a lot of women really, really do, lie on the floor with your bum against your skirting and put your legs up at the wall. So your wall's like that and your wee legs are up. Try to find the easiest way to show that. Your legs are
right.
up here, body's there,
Yeah,
and give yourself 3 or 4 minutes and let that anxiety subside and go back to what it is. What is it that's making me feel that? And if you don't know what it is, get round about other women and you'll soon find out.
Yeah. Amazing, Deborah. Thank you so, so much for coming on our show today.
Oh, thank
Um,
you so much for having me, Nikki. I've loved it. Thank you.
yeah. Where can people find you, Deborah? What are some of your links?
So I am on all of the social platforms under Flourish with Deborah, and I have a website, flourishwithdeborah.com.
Excellent. As always, I will post those links for everybody in the show notes, but we'll say bye to Deborah for now. Thanks, Deborah, and we'll speak soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.